Here's what we have coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, as always, we appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. Keys to the game for Super Bowl 58. An interview with 49ers right guard Jon Feliciano. Cornerback Ambry Thomas, the spotlight's going to be on him going up against Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and this Chiefs offense. And we also have an interview with Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chao, who talks about the recovery and really the impressive bounce back for Brock Purdy, because a year ago now, I should say, we were in Arizona talking about Brock Purdy getting that UCL repair on his elbow. Not a lot of people thought he was going to be able to come back for the regular season. Shoot, he was back for day one of training camp. Dr. David Chao with some great insight on that. Make sure you join us on Sunday for our Niners-Chiefs watch party for the NFC Championship game. We had almost 700,000 people tune into the show. We're trying to crush those numbers on Sunday. Subscribe, join us, hit that bell icon, turn on those notifications. Therefore, when we do go live, you will be notified. Let's get to some of my keys to the game for San Francisco to pull out a victory and to bring home Lombardi Trophy number 6, which would tie the Niners, by the way, with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New England Patriots for the most Super Bowl championships of all time. Key number 1, I think the Niners have to play from ahead. No slow starts, because you do that against Patrick Mahomes, it's really hard to come back against Mahomes and Andy Reid. And against the Packers, against the Lions, you were playing with fire. You escaped with victories thanks to just some dramatic and shocking, thrilling comebacks. You're not going to be able to do that against a really good defense in Kansas City and then an offense that can really dictate the game. Key to the game number 2, you have to stop the Kansas City Chiefs ground game. Isaiah Pacheco has been fantastic since coming into the league out of Rutgers, and so far in the playoffs, the Niners have really struggled against the run. They're giving up 5-6 yards per carry. Not good against Green Bay, not good against Detroit. If the Chiefs can get downhill and Isaiah Pacheco can start to gather some momentum, what does it do? Opens up the play action game for Kansas City. They're really good throwing off of play action sets. The Niners have struggled against the play action pass game, and then Patrick Mahomes is able to slice you up, and the Chiefs become unpredictable, and the unpredictable nature of that Chiefs offense makes them very, very difficult to bottle up. Number 3, this one's very obvious. You have to put Patrick Mahomes under duress. If you don't get pressure on Patrick Mahomes with quarterback hits, quarterback pressures, and sacks, and he can sit back, survey the field, that's when he's at his best, obviously, but that makes his life so much easier. When you have Patrick Mahomes running for his life, he has to move off that first read, and he doesn't have time to really go through his progressions and work off one read to get to the next. We saw the formula to beat Mahomes in a Super Bowl came in Super Bowl 55 when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers set the record for the most quarterback pressures on a quarterback in Super Bowl history. At number 4, is this going to be a Christian McCaffrey breakout game? All week, others, we've been talking about how the Niners have to stop the run because they've struggled against the run in the playoffs. The formula is out on how to attack this Niners defense. Now, they made some second-half adjustments against Green Bay and against Detroit. That's great. But I think an underrated storyline here in Super Bowl 58 is that this Chiefs defense, I think it's the best in the NFL. Number 2 scoring defense in the NFL behind the Baltimore Ravens. Number 2 in sacks behind the Baltimore Ravens. They are susceptible, though, to giving up chunks on the ground. And in the playoffs, we haven't quite seen that Christian McCaffrey breakout game. He's been stellar, 2 touchdowns in each playoff bout, but I think this could be a breakout game for McCaffrey, and I'm talking to the level where the Offensive Player of the Year, as he was named that on Thursday night, could become the Super Bowl MVP. And at number 5, San Francisco has a more talented roster than the Chiefs. Up and down both rosters. You canvass them. The Niners, outside of quarterback, are the better team. You can't tell me otherwise. This is a stacked and special San Francisco 49ers team. Now, sometimes in Super Bowls, a great quarterback, an elite quarterback who's special that night, can solely win the game. And the only way that the Chiefs win is if Mahomes puts up just a dazzling performance. Another matchup that I'm looking at, The San Francisco 49ers linebackers against Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense. This is a terrific matchup to watch because it really is going to be elite versus elite. Some chat stats here on the Niners linebacker play. Among the 63 linebackers who have played at least 1,500 snaps, including the postseason, over the last 3 years, that's the timeline here, Dre Greenlaw's 80.1 Pro Football Focus grade ranks 9th. Fred Warner, number 1. But how about Patrick Mahomes against linebackers? Patrick Mahomes has the 3rd highest Pro Football Focus grade in the NFL this season when targeting linebackers. 93.2, the numbers there, while his 110.5 passer rating on these throws also ranked 3rd in the NFL. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, the best linebacking duo in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the NFL. This here, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all my beautiful people, this is a matchup of great against great, and which great is going to win? Hopefully Scarlet Red. If you think the Niners will beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. And regardless of what you think, the Niners winning or not, I want you to comment the score down below in the comment section right now. I'm going 26-23 Niners. I think this game is close, and I think San Francisco comes out on top. So far on the Niners report, keys to the game still to come. Interview with Jon Feliciano, Niners right guard, as well as cornerback Ambry Thomas, and a sit-down with Pro Football Doc, whose real name is Dr. David Chao. First, today's 49ers report is sponsored by Game Time. You can get $20 off using the code Niners Chat, and if you want to go to the big game in Las Vegas, Game Time, running a big game promo code. Use that code Vegas100 for $100 off your tickets to go to the big game between the Niners and the Chiefs. With Game Time, why I like the app, why I use it, why it's the only ticketing app I use. Best seats at the lowest price guaranteed. And look, here in Las Vegas, all the time, I'm a busy man covering the Niners, the NFL, NBA, college football, Major League Baseball, running streak, closing in on 300 days. Sometimes I don't know what my schedule's going to be. Sometimes I have to make decisions at the last moment. And when I do, I'm able to get the lowest price, guaranteed, with the Game Time app. You don't just have to go to a sporting event. You can go to concerts, comedy shows, Blue Man Group, whatever. $20 off Niners Chat for first-time users. $100 off Vegas 100 for anybody who's looking to go to Las Vegas for this great tilt between San Francisco and Kansas City. Jon Feliciano. We talked about him on the show last week. He's ended up being a great bargain deal for the Niners. He signed with San Francisco, 1-year deal, little money, and he signed, according to him, as you're about to find out, knowing that he was going to be able to compete with Spencer Burford to at some point become the Niners' right guard. Burford won the job out of camp, understandable. He's a year 2 player with some upside, but then Jon Feliciano replaces him later on in the year, and it's really shored up this Niners offensive line. Why he's been so valuable on top of that, because he's been able to fortify a weakness. When Aaron Banks went down, Jon Feliciano filled in at left guard. He can also play center. So I talked about his journey this year, his free agency decision, and if he wants to come back to the Bay.
Just going back to NFL free agency, you signed this 1-year deal for San Francisco. You've ended up being just a great bargain deal on their end with how well you've been able to play. Can you take me back to free agency, why you decided to come to San Francisco and what that process was like? Because it seems like it's worked out for the Niners and you.
Yeah, I've been a fan of this team and the way they run their offense for many years, just watching film on other opponents. You watch opposite team, other teams' offense, so I watch a lot of this offense, and I'm always intrigued as to how they do things. When it came down to the Giants here, it was all about winning a Super Bowl for me. Getting older, this is my 9th year. I just wanted to win.
And what's it like to get significant snaps in the lead up to the Super Bowl? It's got to be a pretty surreal experience.
Yeah. Coming in, I knew I would compete for a job and be the swing guy. In this league, it's hard for the first 5 to finish the first 5 with injuries and such things like that. I just knew just got to keep working, and when I got my shot, just make it real hard for them.
It's going to be moments on Sunday. You're probably matched up with Chris Jones, who's such a unique player. And when I think about how he plays, it's like a combination of Reggie White, Aaron Donald, but the strength of Warren Sapp. What types of challenges does he present at defensive tackle? I think he's been the best at his position for a couple of years now.
I agree. He's annoying. I've played against him a lot in my career. And it doesn't make sense how his arms are so long, and he's so strong, and he's a real big dude, and he can still move real well. I agree with everything you say with the comparisons. He does have all that in him, and he's a really good player.
You want to come back to San Francisco next year? Would you be open to it? 9th year, going on year 10? It's a long time.
Where's Jon at?
Yeah, good stuff right there from Jon Feliciano, who it's going to draw a really difficult assignment now, having to go up against Chris Jones, who I think over the last few years has unseated Aaron Donald as the best defensive tackle in the game. Ambry Thomas, he's come under scrutiny. He's been under the microscope at outside corner for San Francisco so far in the playoffs. He played awesome in the regular season. I thought one of the big turning points for this Niners defense after that 3-game losing streak going into the bye was when Steve Wilkes and Kyle Shanahan moved Deommodore Lenoir from outside corner into the slot to take over for Isaiah Oliver, who had been playing awful. And then they moved Ambry Thomas to the outside. He played great. Has not played great so far in the playoffs, and he understands that. In the regular season, overall Pro Football Focus grade of 71.5. Run defense grade of 70. Coverage grade of 70.5. Those are terrific numbers for a player who, as you're about to find out, knew that he had to prove himself with one last opportunity. He did that this year, but in the playoffs, he hasn't been as good. Overall grade of 29.4, run defense grade of 30.6, and a coverage grade of 29.9. When you give Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes an extra week of rest and an extra week of preparation, and game planning-wise, they can look at Ambry Thomas being targeted by the Packers, by the Lions. They know that he's a little bit of a weakness. So Ambry Thomas in this game has to step up. He knows that, and he's ready to take on the challenge.
I thought back after the bye week, following that 3-game losing streak, once Steve and Kyle decided to start you on the outside and Demo in the slot, the defense started to find its stride a little bit. And you stepped into a role after really not having played a lot the year before, but as a rookie, you did play a lot down the stretch and you played well. It seems like you came in and you didn't lack any confidence. Can you kind of take me inside that transition when you were inserted into the lineup?
Kind of that week, they told me, my coaches told me, like, once we get back, like, we're rolling with you. Whatever you do need to get ready, just get ready. And honestly, that week, I looked at that in preparation, like, this is going to be my last shot to honestly get on the field, so I need to do the most I can with that opportunity. And, I knew I had to play hungry. I didn't care who was lining up across me because I knew who I was.
They're great.
I knew they had some good receivers, though, but I just looked at it as an opportunity to rise.
Did 2022 and how that season transpired motivate you to have that opportunity in the season?
Most definitely, and I just knew right after that 22 season going into this next OTAs and camp that I had to be on my stuff and I had to bring that confidence. I had to show who I was.
Your numbers this year were absolutely terrific in the regular season. You'd probably admit you wish you maybe played a little bit better in the playoffs so far. You have an opportunity to do that in the Super Bowl against Kansas City. What do you have to do to kind of get back on track, and how motivated are you to show the world that the player that we saw in the regular season is the real Ambry Thomas?
So, just preparation. We had extra week of preparation. I got extra confidence from seeing stuff so many times and just being in the right spot, knowing who I am, trusting my abilities. I feel like something special gonna happen.
Steve Wilkes has a DB background. How's he kind of help you in your development?
Honestly, that guy has helped me out tremendously, just by giving me the insight to stuff, telling me what routes I can play in certain coverages, like, because every route, you feel me, some routes are meant for the defense just to give up.
Right.
And just playing like that, and he's gotten me tremendously better, smarter, and yeah.
Awesome.
Certainly appreciate the authenticity there. Didn't play in year 2. He knew this could be my last realistic chance to prove that I deserve to play in the National Football League. Again, Ambry Thomas did that in the regular season. Now it's time to show up, show out, and ball out in Super Bowl 58. Going to be difficult to do that against Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense. Want to round out the show with our interview with Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chao. He does such a great job, in my opinion, of making medical information digestible and easy to understand. Sometimes you go to a doctor's office or you speak with medical professionals or doctors and you hear all this jargon, all of these huge words, not from Pro Football Doc. Does such a great job of just simplifying things. And last year on Super Bowl Radio Row, we talked to him about Brock Purdy's incoming elbow surgery. How about that recovery? Here's what Pro Football Doc had to say. Coming at you in Las Vegas, Super Bowl 58 Radio Row with Dr. David Chao, otherwise known as Pro Football Doc. And really appreciate you joining the show. Last year, we were in Arizona, and the big storyline then was Brock Purdy having to undergo this UCL repair, not quite a reconstruction at that point. We didn't know what the timeline was going to be because he wasn't able to undergo surgery at the time because of some swelling in his elbow. And the timeline was up in the air. A lot of people didn't know if he was going to be ready to start the regular season. He comes back before anybody really had predicted or anticipated. And not only is he ready for the preseason and the regular season, he's ready day one of training camp. What'd you make of his recovery off of that UCL repair, not the reconstruction, and how he was able to play this year? Because we also talked about us not knowing what the arm strength was going to be like. He looked pretty damn good this year.
No, absolutely. And look, what we were saying, and I'm so glad that you're making the distinction between repair and reconstruction, and they're two different things. And thankfully, the throwing motion for a quarterback is different than, let's say, a pitcher. It is a Tommy John ligament injury, but he's obviously done very well. And what we were saying last year, what I was saying is there's no guarantee that he'll be ready for the start of the season. Wasn't saying he wasn't, just there's no guarantee. All the media reports were, he's going to be fine. I'm like, dude, he didn't even have the surgery yet. How do you know he's going to be fine? It's like a team saying, we're going to have a great draft, and we're going to have draft a Hall of Famer. How do you know? You haven't even drafted yet. And even if you do that the day after the draft, I have a successful draft. Well, the day after the surgery was a successful surgery. Proof is in the pudding down the road. So what I was saying is there was no way the 49ers could go into the season without some backup plan or a surety. Now, it turns out they didn't need it, and he was great. But now we hear all we did talk to Tom Brady. Yeah, we did throw that out there because we love Brock Purdy, and Tom Brady would be a stopgap. John Lynch is awesome. He knows what he's doing. So does Kyle Shanahan. So, of course, they would look at backups in case the timeline. And they did. And now, in the end, he was recovering well enough. They didn't need to do anything. But I think it all figured out and has done very well.
And what a season Brock Purdy has been able to coming at you in Las Vegas. Coming off that elbow surgery. My goodness, it makes what he did in his first full year as a starter even that much more impressive. Before we hop on out of here, make sure you give me a follow on X, closing in on 11,000 followers. Give me a follow on Instagram, closing in on 20,000 followers. I put a lot of content on those social media pages as well. Appreciate the faithful for tuning in. San Francisco, we out.